Hi everyone, this is JB Borromeo and welcome to the New Generation Entrepreneurs. This is a program where you will learn from different stories of successful authors and speakers and seminar leaders and coaches. And so that we will learn also how to build our own information product business. And so we will learn the secrets, the techniques, the hacks, the practical wisdom, and the proven lessons from these greats. And so today we have a very special guest, and she's a best-selling author. She's a sought-after speaker, and she has spoken to thousands and thousands of audience and international stages. And so I'm sure that you will learn a lot from her, and you'll be inspired by her story. And so I don't want to keep you waiting. And so let's have our interview. Please all welcome Miss Sha Nacino. Um, For my first question, Asha, can you share with us something about your background, your story? How did you start as an infopreneur, or how did you start as an author and speaker? And share with us your story, please, Sha.
Okay, sure. So my journey as an author was more of a serendipity. I didn't wake up one day and tell myself, someday I'd like to be an author. It didn't happen that way. So what happened was, I was an employee for 9 years, and in my first year as an employee, I got buried in credit card debts. And at that time, I wanted to quit my job, but I couldn't because number one, I was buried in debts. Number two, I didn't know my purpose, or I didn't know what would make me happy at that time. I didn't know my direction. And so that inspired me to read books, especially books on money, and to attend seminars and to seek mentors. After 3 years, I was able to zero out my debts. And after zeroing out my debts, that's when I realized that a lot of young professionals are into financial mess, if that's how you call it. And I wanted to share why is it important for us to manage our finances, especially if you're a millennial, if you're a Gen Y, Gen Z, etc. And so I started with my friends, and every time we would have dinner or snacks, etc., I would tell them, you know what? I learned that we should manage our money, and especially we should zero out our debts, because if we don't zero out our debts, we'll be draining money at the rate of 42% annually. So
Wow.
imagine, even if you're saving at the rate of 3% annually, you are draining money at a much faster rate. So that's how I would talk to my friends. And I realized that my friends would shy away from the conversation because it's too technical, it's too sensitive. We're talking about money. And so I had this burning message that I would like to share, but I had no listeners. So nobody wanted to listen to me. And so in one of the seminars that I attended, the idea of writing a book came to mind. And at first, I wanted to discard that idea because number one, I was not a writer. Number two, I didn't know how to write. Number three, I didn't know anyone from the publishing industry. No one knew me. I didn't have the money to publish a book. I didn't know what it takes to write and publish a book. I had so many hesitations why I shouldn't write a book. But I felt God was telling me, Sha, you need to write a book because this is not for you. This is for the people that will be blessed by your book. And at first, I tried to negotiate with God and wrestle with God, but in the end, He won. So I heeded the call. And in the process of writing my first book, I fell in love with writing. So that's where everything started.
Wow. Uh, you talked about your uh, financial literacy background, or maybe your message, no, financial literacy message. But do you have a
Yes.
background in financial or finances or financial literacy, or is it just because of that pain or that mess, the financial mess that you mentioned, that triggered you to talk about it or to write about it?
Okay, that's a good question. So my course in college, sorry, my course in college was business economics,
Oh,
and I
okay.
was working for a bank. So we're
Okay.
dealing with money, right? But that's not where I got the inspiration to write a financial management book. So my book on money management was highly experiential, highly behavioral rather than technical. So I
Mm.
talked about money mindset, I talked about the right money behavior, the right money habits, and so on.
Oh,
So basically, it's from experience, and I shared practical ways on how I was able to get out of the mess that I was in. and how people who are buried in debts or people who also want to learn how to save and invest can also do that.
Right. I like the approach. I like the practical ways. I don't really get excited with technical things or topics. Can you share with us, Sha, about these practical ways how to get out of that? Maybe your top three or top five tips or the message that you wrote about in your book. So good for our audience to really grab that message, how to get out of debt and how to be financially free or literate, no, in practical
Yes,
ways. Yes.
sure. So for my book, Money and Me, I shared about how to zero out your credit card debts. So maybe I just want to share a few tips on how to zero out your credit card debts. So one of the ways to do that is pay more than the minimum amount. So let's say you cannot pay the entire balance in full. Of course, I would suggest if you can, pay the entire balance in full. But if you cannot pay the entire balance in full, pay more than the minimum amount.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to work for a bank. I used to work for the credit card department of a bank, and you would see if, especially if you have billing statements, you would see that the banks would say just pay the minimum amount. It will be easy for you, right? But the hidden message is just pay the minimum amount, so you'll pay interest. So the bank will earn. Of course, I'm not saying that the bank is not disclosing the entire information, but what I'm saying is, as credit card holders, you need to be responsible, and you also need to read between the lines. Okay, so that's number one. Pay more than the minimum amount if you cannot pay the entire outstanding balance every month. Number two is Okay, number two is to, if you have the tendency to just swipe your card, and if you have
Mm-hmm.
many cards, I would really advise you to cut down the cards.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you have a behavioral problem when it comes to using your credit card and you cannot prevent yourself from swiping the card, I highly recommend, please cut down the card. You can still survive without those cards, and just leave one card for emergency purposes.
Right.
So when I say emergency, sale is not considered an emergency. Okay,
Yes.
and just leave that card at home and use it for emergency purposes. Next is, when you have bonuses, instead of thinking what the next gadget to buy or where to travel next, I advise you to use part of your bonus, to pay off the credit card debt. And another advice is, you apply for balance transfer.
Okay.
Okay, so that's how you zero out your credit card debts. And as regards money management, I shared some tips. For example, save 20% of your income, and you can put it in the bank, or you can put it in stocks.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yes.
No, wow. Thank you so much. So when you say minimum amount, more than the minimum amount, for example, would it be okay to pay, for example, 500 pesos above the minimum amount? Or, what's the minimum amount beyond the minimum amount in addition?
Okay. As much as you can. For example,
Okay.
let's say you're allotting your minimum amount that you need to pay every month is, let's say, 1,000 pesos. So I
Okay.
would advise, instead of just paying 1,000, if you can pay 2,000, then go for it. If you can pay 3,000 pesos, then go for it. If you can pay 4 or 5,000, then go for it. So as much as you can, and increase that over time. Because I made a very simple computation. If you just pay the minimum amount every month, it would take you, okay, let's say you have a debt of 10,000 pesos credit card debt, and
Okay.
you're just paying the minimum amount. Do you know how many months it would take you to zero out that 10,000 credit card debt? And that's assuming you will stop using the card.
Okay. So for
How
10,000
many months?
minimum, yes.
10,000, just pay the minimum, and you're not late, and you already stopped using the card. So do
Okay.
you know that it would take you 35 months to zero
35,
out that
more than two
debt?
years.
Yes. So it's almost 3 years,
Oh,
short
wow.
of 1 month short for 3 years.
Oh,
So
okay.
imagine, so what if you keep using the card?
Right.
So imagine,
So
so
debt
so
on
that's
top of
why,
it. Yeah.
Right. That's why it's very important for you to zero out your debts, because if you don't zero out your debt, imagine this. So this is a this is a bottle of water, and imagine putting your savings in this bottle of water. But if there is a leak, a very big leak, no matter how much money you put in, it will always come out.
Right.
Okay, and the
Wow.
leak is in the form of a credit card debt.
Wow. Oh, I'm really learning right now. Oh my. Oh, because right now what my wife and I are doing, we're using our credit card to purchase our grocery items, grocery needs. And of course, regularly it will be on top of another grocery bill, and somehow it's really becoming a not a small amount, and
Right.
and it's really eating up our resources. Although grocery is a necessity, we need them,
Yes.
but from the bills, it's really eating and consuming our most of our resources right now. And maybe we need to really do something about this. Maybe do some planning or budgeting, and avoid the very expensive items. And wow,
Right.
I'll share that.
And
Yes.
okay, and just to add, by the way, credit card is neither good nor bad. So it's neutral. How you use it makes it good or bad. And it's okay to use a credit card as long as you pay the entire balance in full every month. So that's okay,
Right.
because you can use credit card to your advantage. But if you're already paying finance charges or late payment charges, etc., then you are using the credit card to your disadvantage.
Right. Yeah, and we experience that, and sometimes we have charges, and it stresses me out because I always, yeah, I always feel that pressure every time it's very close to that date. Uh, we rush, we cram, and so it's really stressful. And yeah, oh wow, thank you so much, thank you for that. And
Welcome.
okay, so um, do you have seminars about financial literacy, or is it because I'm aware of the 90-day book writing challenge, but
Right.
do you also have, or do you, what's your flagship product, what's your main seminar or program? Is it the book writing, or the financial literacy seminar, or and other programs?
Okay. So good question. I do about 4 major seminars in a year. I have about 100 to 150 people in attendance every year.
Wow.
So one of them is the Mission Happiness Conference.
Right.
So if you're watching this before April 14, we're
Yeah.
having this on April 14.
Yeah.
And then the other conference is the Money and Me Conference for a Cause. So that's usually held on October, my birth month. And during the Money and Me Conference for a Cause, we usually donate 100% of the net proceeds to a charity.
Wow.
So that's one of the corporate social responsibility projects that we do every year. And then another big event that we do every year is the How to Write a Book Seminar plus Book Launch. So this is the book launch of the graduates of the 90-day book writing challenge online course. So we do about two a year, two of that particular seminar a year. So total of four.
Right. Wow. So we'll be asking details and links of your programs, no, of your
Sure.
yes, seminars, and we'll be posting the links below this interview, below this video. So those who are watching right now, if you want to join and be part of Sha Nacino's programs, go ahead and click the link. Go ahead and be there on April 14. April 14.
Yes.
Mission Happiness.
Mission Happiness Conference.
Mission
So we'll
Happiness
talk
Conference.
about purpose, we'll talk about how to deal with stress, and how to be happy and inspired every single day.
Wow. All right. Wow, that's great. And usually you hold your seminars in
Usually it's in Meralco Mini Theater or
Meralco.
in Ortigas Foundation Library. So magkatapat lang yun.
Okay. Wow, that's nice. So
It's
very
just in
accessible.
Ortigas.
Ortigas, yeah.
Yes,
Yung Ortigas Avenue na yon. Right. Okay.
correct.
So, what's your next question is what's your aside from that being in a credit card mess, is there any
Mm-hmm.
other pain or unforgettable challenge or that uh, experience in your life that you were able to realize a very important lesson? And what was this lesson?
Okay, a lot. I've made so many mistakes in the past, especially as regards my finances. So, for example, I had experience dealing with people who scammed me.
Wow.
Yes, a six-figure amount.
Oh my.
And aside from that, what else? Mm, so I think most of my painful experiences are financial in nature.
Ah,
Yes. And then one of my experiences is that because I was not a writer, so I remember I had to write a book because I wanted to heed God's call for me. Because I was not a writer, it took me 3 years to write and publish my first book. So that was a painful journey for me because at that time I was still employed. I had social civic activities and I had to write on the side. So that was a painful experience for me, difficult journey for me. And so one of my missions then was to find a formula for writing a book so I can teach anyone how to write a book. So I mentioned that I was not a writer. I was more of a math person. So when I was still studying, math was my favorite subject. I love math because there is a formula. So once you know the formula, you are off to go. Once you know the formula, you can solve any problem. And it's the same with life. So I told myself, even if writing a book is on the creative side, there has to be a formula for writing a book, even if you're not a writer. And so I developed a formula for writing a book, and that's what I teach at the 90-day book writing challenge. So at the 90-day book writing challenge online course, I teach people how to write books in 90 days, even
wow.
if you're not a writer, and even if you're busy in your job or business. And after 90 days, there is a book launch. So that is like the graduation of the students of the online course.
I shared the same experience when I had my very first book. I was also having this job on the side, and so I was so busy with so many things, and so I cannot focus. And I'm curious, what was your writing schedule or habit during that time that you had a job to fulfill, and you have this dream and you have this mission that you also want to fulfill? What was your How do you manage, how do you balance, or how do you write, when do you write?
Yes. Okay, so that's a very good question. I would write during lunch break. So
Oh,
during lunch break, there's a 1 hour lunch break, right? So I would spend about 30 minutes joining my office mates for lunch. And in 30 minutes, I would spend writing on my book. And then after work, at that time, almost every week, sometimes twice a week. But I had to sacrifice that. So I had to say no to badminton so I'll have more time to write a book. Okay, so I would write during lunch break and then after office hours.
so
So I
during
would
lunch
go
break.
home right away. Yes. I had to say no to some social activities, badminton, dinner with friends, movies with friends, etc. because I had to prioritize my book. And during weekends as well, I would allot time to write my books. So it is safe to say that I wrote every day during that time.
Wow.
And sometimes there were so many occasions before my in the middle of the night, at around 2 a.m., I would wake up because there's so many ideas. And I
Oh,
would wake up, open my laptop, and write.
okay. So uh during work, after work, and
Not
in the wee hours, sorry, lunch break. Hello.
yes, so during
Hello.
lunch break, and then
Yeah,
after work, and then during weekends.
and during weekends. And how long? What how many words is your average for every time you sit down and you write? How many words do you type or you accomplish?
I don't really count. Sometimes it is just one page.
One page.
Sometimes it's 5 pages. Sometimes it's 10 pages.
Wow. I asked that question because when I
But
was,
if you want to write a book, my challenge is to write every day.
yeah, write every day. Correct, correct. And so that
Yes,
it will be a habit, right? And so that you will build that
correct,
momentum. When
correct.
I asked the question about how many words do you write, because when I was writing that first book, um, I started with 5 words, and every
Uh-huh.
day, because I'm also am not a writer, and so it was
Mm-hmm.
difficult for me. But I started with 5 words, and then another 5 words, and then another 5 words. So constructing those 5 words still were very difficult for me, but I made that decision to really write every day. And so, like you, it took me long months and years. It took me 2 years to really finish that
Wow.
first book. And it
Mm-hmm.
was just, but mine was, it's less than 90 pages. I think it's 85 pages.
Okay.
And so, plus the graphics, plus the work activity area. So, not that very long book. So yeah, that's why 2 years
Easy to read.
is to read and
Yes, easy to finish.
correct, easy to finish. Yeah, I think that fits better. Easy to finish.
Yes.
So wow. And so now you're living your passion, right? This is your passion.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Writing and speaking, joining speaking conferences. I saw you. You're competing with Toastmasters, speaking competitions.
Yes.
So is this your training for your speaking, or you have other uh, exposures or immersions with speaking, or you take it all from Toastmasters?
Okay. So I think it's safe to say that 99% or maybe 90 to 99% of my training comes from Toastmasters. I started with Toastmasters in 2007. And at that time, I was painfully shy. I was such an introvert. And I remembered in my first ever speech, my mind went blank and I couldn't think of anything to say. And so for my first ever speech, I just cried in front of the audience.
Uh-huh.
I just cried.
Wow.
And that was my speech. So that was my first ever speech. So I would say that Toastmasters is such a supportive environment because while I was standing there crying in front of about 20 people, I saw that there were also around 3 people who were crying with me.
Wow.
But I didn't say a single word. I just cried out of nervousness.
For how long? When you were in front and then you were crying?
I think about maybe about 2 to 3 minutes.
Oh, wow. Oh my God. Even a few seconds of crying in front, that's unforgettable. That's painful. But
Yes.
you were there in front 2 to 3 minutes of crying. And so maybe the people thought that it's part of your talk. No?
The Toastmasters or the members of my club then were saying, "It's okay, Sha, take your time." Because they were saying if I take my time and if I try to relax, maybe I'll remember my piece. So I took my time and I took my time to cry
Wow.
because I really couldn't remember what I was about to say. So I just stood there and I just took my time to cry, and that was my first speech.
And that's very inspiring. That's for me. Hearing that from you
Mhm.
is very inspiring. Coming from that position wherein you were so nervous and it was your very first talk, and you cried. And so it gives us hope and inspiration for those who want to start the same career as a speaker, as an author, because it puts us back to that place wherein it's very relatable. It,
Yes.
now that you're speaking in front of thousands of people, of a big audience, international stages, and whenever we hear those kinds of stories, it it connects with us, it connects with our audience, that you can start terribly, you can start in that position, but if you will not give up, if you will just continue and train yourself and practice and immerse, you'll be like Sha, and you'll be a sought after speaker and trainer and author. And so that's what we want to share with you in this program. And
Right. Just start and don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to be laughed at. That's okay. Don't be afraid to be intimidated. Don't be afraid to be how do you call that? Mapahiya.
right. Mhm.
Uh-huh. Because just allow yourself to feel those feelings, learn from them, grow from your mistakes, learn from your mistakes, and that's where you start.
Right. Yeah.
Because if you're too afraid to make mistakes, you might be afraid to try, and because you're afraid to try, you won't be able to reach your destination or your target destination.
Right. Every journey starts with that first step.
Right.
And that first step might be the most difficult, but it will give you that momentum. It will give you uh, um, uh, that spark. It will give you that spark. Wow.
Correct.
And so, was there ever a time that you almost gave up? Talking about not giving up, talking about, yeah, it's so easy right now to share, no, and tell our audience that, do not give up. But was there ever a time that you felt that it's not for you and you just wanted to give up and just cry?
Well, there were so many times when I would cry because nothing's happening. There were so many times when I said, I'm too tired already. There were so many times when I said, kaya ka pa ba? Or should I still continue? But of course, those were just moments when you were tired and you were discouraged. And those are normal feelings, normal emotions. I think there was never a time wherein I was very serious about quitting. I was just tired. I was just disappointed at times. I was just frustrated at times. And that's okay. Okay, so maybe you're also feeling that. That's okay. But there has to be a point wherein you have to tell yourself, I won't give up. Because when I quit my job, I made a decision. When I quit my job so I could pursue writing and public speaking full time, I asked myself, what if my career as an author and a speaker will fail? Okay? And then I told myself, then I need to work on it. There is no plan B. So what if plan A doesn't work? Then you have to work on plan A. There is no plan B. So what if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't work? There is no plan B. There is only plan A, and that is to make it work. So I
Wow.
made that decision, and I had to honor my word because I knew that I would be able to serve more people. I knew that my gift then was writing and speaking. And if I have to quit just because of my emotions, then those are petty reasons. So I had to make my dream bigger than myself, bigger than my emotions, bigger than my excuses in order for me to keep on
Wow.
or to keep moving forward.
And I can really relate with that, sharing that you mentioned, talking about, uh, it's okay to feel the feelings. It's okay to feel those. You're disappointed. Maybe you're tired at times. Nothing may seem to work, but there's no plan B. There's no plan.
Yes.
And for some, it's really the excuse. For some, they want to have this career or this business, but they always have that plan B. They always have that excuse. And so it's stopping them from fulfilling this career or pursuing this. It's a challenging. All career, it's challenging. All dreams are challenging. All big purpose, big missions are challenging. But if you have a plan B, or if you have, for some, if they have an excuse, that's their
Mm-hmm.
exit. That's one of the things that stops them, because they know that, oh, if it will not work, I can still go back to my job, my previous job. So yeah. Wow.
Yes. So if there is plan B, you won't go all in for your plan A because you know that there will always be you have a fallback, so
Right.
you'll be a bit complacent.
Right. And that's one of the strongest enemies of pursuing our big dream and big mission. The moment we have that excuse, plan B, or um, other things, and yeah, it stops us from being our best version of ourselves. And so, how did you?
Yes.
Do you have a? I'm curious. Do you have a habit? Do you have a certain ritual or things that you do whenever you feel you're tired, you're exhausted? Is there something that you do for you to uh, uh, get up, get back up, and you know feel that energy once more, and then push forward again?
Okay, one of the things I learned during my spiritual formation when I was in college was to keep the presence of God at all times. Okay, so in everything that I do, it's as if God is just beside me. So when I write a book, I would tell, oh, God, what do you think about the next chapter? As if I'm just talking to Him. Or when I drink water, thank you for the water, God. Things like that. So when I encounter difficulty, for example, I'm tired, I just tell God, God, I'm tired. Do you think I can still do this? Things like that. It's as if I'm talking to Him all day, every day, and He's just there beside me. So I know that I'm not alone in the journey. I know that someone has my back, and that gives me the courage to do whatever I need to do. So sabi nga, di ba, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Amen. Amen to that. Amen. So, wow, I'll I'll start doing that as well. Whenever I would feel tired, I would feel exhausted. Of course, it's normal whenever we pursue our dreams, our goals. It's normal to get tired, but that spirituality, that mindset of being with that supreme being, guiding you,
Yes,
protecting you, and supporting you in this tough journey, it gives you that extra energy. So,
correct.
uh, so how does life for you? What's your take on life right now? What's your
Okay.
and being successful now in this journey?
Okay, so I'm very excited about life in general. I get excited to wake up every morning because I know exactly what to do. There's so many things that I want to do, and my big why is big enough, is very deep. I want to pursue God's calling for me every single day. And one of the perks that I enjoy now is the ability to make choices. So, for example, on a given day, I can choose not to work. On a given day, I can tell myself, Sha, today, okay, you want to watch movies? Go ahead. You want to go to have a massage? Go ahead. So, what do you want to do? Or next week, do you want to work in Baguio? Okay, go ahead. Next week, do you want to work in Tagaytay or Boracay or Palawan? Okay, go ahead. Because now I can say I have the money. Of course, I think I have I was able to build that sort of comfort zone when it comes to my finances. I can afford not to work for a couple of months and I'm still okay, or maybe a year or two or three and I'm still okay. But But the reason why I'm so passionate about what I do is because I know that I have a deeper calling. This is not about money anymore. This is about pursuing the mission that God has for me. And I love what Brother Bo would always say, Brother Bo Sanchez, he's my mentor. When it comes to business, my guiding principle is this: serve first and money will follow. Okay, so serve first and money will follow. So whatever I do, for example, when I zeroed out my debts, I wrote a book on zeroing out debts. When I learned how to write a book, I taught people how to write a book through the 90-day book writing challenge. And and now I know how to do public speaking, and I'm working on a course on public speaking. So whatever I know, I just share. Okay, and money will follow. And today also, when I give talks to companies, so some companies would be able to afford my real professional fee and they would pay me the right amount. Some companies would say, Sha, this is only our budget. And some companies, they will really ask for a very, very big discount. And my decision whether to accept the speaking engagement or not depends on my availability. So if I'm available, I don't. It's not about the money. I'd go for it anyway. And sometimes schools would invite me to give talks to their schools outside Manila. It would take out it would take us about 5 to 6 hours to travel just to go to that school and give a 1 hour talk and travel back for 5 to 6 hours.
Right.
And the honorarium is maybe not even enough for the gas, for the toll, etc. Financially speaking, it's illogical to go to those talks, but I would go anyway because I'm in a position now wherein it's not about the money. Of course, we need money, right? But I'm in a position now wherein I knew the secret to making money. And I'd like to share this with you and with the viewers. It's all about value. You give value and you get the money. So you give value. It's not how can I get money, but the question should be how can I give value? And when you give, you receive. So it's not about how can I get, it's about how can I give.
Wow.
So just reverse the process and it will really make a huge difference with regard to your business, to the profitability of your business, to your happiness in doing business, and with the trust that your clients will have for you.
Wow, that's powerful. Value, give value, provide that service, and money will come
Yes,
after, chasing after you. And wow,
correct.
that's so powerful. And I know you're very busy. And again, thank you so much for your time. Last question is, what are your top three advice or tips to aspiring and starting infopreneurs, authors, and speakers? I know you have been sharing and giving us advices and tips and lessons, but for the last question, what's your top three advice or tips for those who are starting
Okay,
for
top
them
of
to be
mind
like
number
you?
one. Okay. So number one is love what you do and do what you love. Okay. Notice that you don't interchange the two. So I said love what you do and then do what you love. So what I'm saying is, let's say you're working right now, you're an employee and you don't like your job, you don't like your boss, you don't like what you're doing, etc. So my advice is to learn to love what you do, learn to love your boss, learn to love your work. And then when you learn to love what you do, you will gain the character. Okay? And that character is very useful when you put up your own business and when you become an entrepreneur, because when you decide to do what you love, now you are equipped in doing it well, because even if you were doing something that you didn't love to do, you had the character to do it well, to work on it with dignity, with integrity, with honesty, etc. Okay, so that's number one. Love what you do and then do what you love.
And then do what you
Okay. Number two is to keep learning and growing. So, one of the mistakes that we might do is to say, alam ko na yan. Or we hear something and we say, alam ko na yan. So, my advice is to keep learning, have a teachable heart, be humble to learn, and learn from books, learn from mentors, learn from seminars, learn from the videos of JD.
wow.
Okay. And um, don't skimp on your education. So a lot of people would say, "Oh, buying a book is expensive. I might as well use that money to buy food or to save, etc., etc." But my advice is don't skimp on your education. So you have there has to be skin in the game. Okay, so you pay for the book, you pay for the seminar, you pay for the mentoring, etc. Because when you put skin in the game, meron kang taya, may masakit kang nilabas, then that will inspire you to make your investment worth your money.
Correct.
Okay, so that's keep learning and growing. And number three is to serve. So if you want to serve, to be an entrepreneur, start serving in whatever way you can, because money is a symbol of value. And the more value you give, the more you receive. So how do you serve? In your community, when they say, can you volunteer as the one who would lift the chairs during our meeting? Say yes. Or in your company, if your boss would say, can you volunteer to be the prayer leader next meeting? Just say yes. So whenever you are called to serve other people using your talent, using your time, using your special skills, just say yes. Keep serving. Don't worry about the money, because the money will come.
Wow. Wow, just wow. So, oh my. Thank you so much for those, for all the lessons, not just three. For this entire interview, I've been learning a lot. And I'm sure that all those who will watch this will learn a lot as well. And so, thank you so much, Sha, for your time. Thank you for inspiring
You're
me.
welcome.
Thank you for inspiring our audience. Thank you for doing this mission. More power to you. I honor you for this mission, for this big purpose that you do, for your message, and for your big why, to serve. If there's anything that I can do also to support and to help your programs, and just let me know. I would be super willing to help. And so again, friends, those who are watching right now, programs of Sha Nacino are posted below this interview. If you are interested, please go ahead and access the links. This is a guarantee, a personal guarantee that you will learn from Sha. I saw you, Sha, in, maybe you have forgotten about
Yes.
this. I saw you, the first time I ever saw you was in this event in Diliman, Quezon City, UP. And
Oh, the TEDx?
no, it's
Mhm.
with, uh, it was a book about happiness, yellow book. You co-authored this book with the guy. I forgot the name.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, okay, now I remember. Yes,
That
yes.
was so long time ago.
Yes, yes.
And
And you were there.
I
Okay,
was
okay.
there.
Now I remember. I remember. Okay.
I was
Were you
there.
the one who asked about what book should I write about? And then you ask about when you're in college, you were forced to.
Yes,
Okay.
that was me.
Now I remember. Okay.
And that
Okay.
inspired me to write as well. I was there because of book
Okay.
writing lessons, and that inspired me to write. You were an inspiration, and
Thank
again,
you,
I want to honor
JB.
you for that. Thank you so much for inspiring us. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
doing this work. And so there, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you will share this video. Please do not let this content or value stop with you. Share this, please, and so that others will learn, others will be inspired as well. So there, thank you so much, Sha.
Thank you, JB. And thank you to all our listeners. I had fun as well. And thank you for your beautiful questions. You're able to let out the information that I need to share to our audience. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you
And
so
God
much.
bless your work as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And so there, thank you so much again, guys, for joining. And so before we leave, before we close this program, we want to tell you that you deserve to have the best life, but you have to be the best you. Bye-bye.
God bless.